The third anachronism I posted on Tuesday, January the 3rd of 2023 was number 3871, or is, and it was called The Endless Cycle of White Noise. So thinking about these whirring fans around me, and I'm hoping that the noise doesn't overtake me as sometimes if I just place them in the right place do. Aging strong at its highest speed because I can better function with the din of white noise, whether awake or asleep, or attempting to find my way to one state or the other, as long as the noise is at least as indecipherable as avocal or as nonverbal as radio or television static, without a station in the world coming and or going. These small machines, the 3 fans and the air purifier, are almost always on, although once in a while, say every 3 or 4 months, but that depends. I flip one or more of the dials to off in order to allow for a more exaggerated silence, radio silence, so that I may hear the noises in my head. Certainly not because it gets too warm, too cool. Not in this place. So that I may hear the noises in my head, let's call them thoughts, which have been accumulating over time. The white noises stopper them, keep them muffled for a duration until they become unmanageable. This tactic works. The noises in my head do not divert my focus, almost never. They do not become a distraction. This cacophony of various noises, which can be separated into stacks, into types, I cannot but help to do that if and when made aware of them. I cannot but help to do that if and when made aware of them is a very clunky little phrase, let me tell you. And it's a parenthetical phrase there, followed by 4 ellipses, 4 dots and ellipses. So inevitably this clamor fills my head to a point at which it must, of course, be drained, swollen as my head becomes. My friends, when I had any, found this telling. Maybe they understood my feelings about intelligence. Maybe not. Intelligence is a generic example of what lies in the head, however, and this cacophonous pileup dulls whatever smarts I believed that I had, makes much more difficult the very act of differentiating, of existing in some sort of normalcy, at least one that normal folks might suggest is so. So much is relative. So normalcy, while theoretically calculable, is difficult to pinpoint. So what do I know? That's what I'm saying. And so once the switches have been turned off, the excess noises semi-identified and at first put thematically together to note for further evaluation at some probably distant point and drained, then the 3 fans and the air purifier, those mechanisms that fill a tiny home consistently with inert, untranslatable, indecipherable sounds, my precious white noise, this motley crew of more distracting and oftentimes disturbing noises can then be dealt with. Which means they then begin to slowly make their way down my insides. They get filtered as they make their way through my throat and my left heart until one by one, group by categorized group, they dissipate, evaporate, and finally extinguish themselves. And they make their ways individually down. And as they make their ways individually down, the muffling white noise, having kept them stoppered in my head and inaudible enough for a time, but inevitably there are too many of them that accumulate, and they have to be dealt with, let go. So that by the time all of these distracting, jumbled clumps have reached somewhere around my knees, I am free of this cacophony, and each buzz-whimpering thought is free of me. Once drained of them, the switches of each fan and that of the air filter can be flipped back on so that my momentarily empty head is therefore stoppered and the hubbub of distracting noises can begin to accumulate once again without diverting my focus until it is time to drain and filter, to cycle out these noises once again. That's the end of that poem. I'm amazed at the focus on these very just minutiae, these weird little things that are, and just going on and on about them. I mean, I was wondering about this yesterday. I was doing this in the previous year as well. Anyway, this is just me talking about, trying to figure out something about my own writing here and why I was. The one fascinating thing that I was telling someone about this after I was thinking about it like this is that I write to remember, and so I put in little clues to things within my poems, or I just strictly write exactly what's going on so that I can remember things, and so that I can have perspective, looking back from those perspectives, think about now. I mean, transport myself back to that moment, look forward to where I am, see what the difference is, if I've made improvements or whatever, or I've gone backwards. We always think of evolving or de-evolving, or I do, and maybe that's too binary or whatever, but and then we can have aspirations and goals based on that, or look at what we had as goals and see if we've reached them, sort of thing. This is just my way. So it's essentially, number one, to remember. And so I'm flooded with nostalgia and memories every time, and really remembering very specific details that I would not have ever remembered otherwise when I read my poetry. And this has been a good exercise for me to read through all of these like this, for various reasons, especially as a project as a whole, which I still stand by very much. But my point was about this kind of minutia that I'm writing about now. I mean, I don't know, I think also, of course, and I don't think I believe it to be the case, that you can also look back and remember things that you didn't know that were transpiring at the moment. I there's some rough times I was going through over the last maybe 8-9 years, and I slowly have worked myself sort of out of that, and I feel much better, although I'm certainly not at all. I'm not working at the moment, so that's the worst part, and I've been interviewing like crazy for so long. I did have a quick, short job recently, which was very helpful, but and I've had interview after interview, like I had 4 this week. So things are looking potentially good, but yet still don't have a job, and everything is therefore messed up because of that. So I have problems that are going on right now that I'm kind of dealing with mentally and physically and all that other good stuff, but I'm so much better now than I was over a certain, over like 6, 7, 8 year period of time, 9 year period of time, even now. So any time during that 9 years, really. So it's really cool to see, but also it's kind of scary to kind of look at and realize, oh yeah, I was going through that, and it didn't register that that's really what I was portraying more than anything in the poem to me anyway. And I see that, and I think that's okay. I think that's what we do, but I'm usually kind of on top of who I am and what's going on at the moment, it seems like, and so it's kind of wild when I encounter something like that. Anyway, thank you for indulging. This has been way too long of a recording. I will stop now. Come back anytime. I've got a bunch more.